Hey, I'm just doing
Oh, DePaul.
a little analysis
Okay.
for
I've seen him at, like, a DePaul
Calabasa,
tournament I went to
aka
once.
Stump. He asked for help in the Melee Falcon R&D Discord. And I guess he's fighting Samus. Um,
They're
oh shit, you
They're
didn't
chilling.
RPS report for
Yeah,
her,
we got
you
a little
fool.
cross action going on.
I guess this is an Arcadian?
so we got Samus.
I'm not
Falcon?
sure.
Okay.
Very
Samus
exciting
Falcon is a
matchup.
pretty bad matchup for Samus.
I think I played with Mace on net play recently.
Falcon's
That's where I
speed,
recognized his name.
ability to keep her from landing,
Samus.
options against crouch cancel and ASDI down, all those things together just make it really difficult for her in the neutral game. And then Falcon has a better punish game against her as well. So it's a tough matchup for her. Generally, your goal as Captain Falcon in this matchup is going to be to play well around things like ASDI down and crouch cancel, whatever, down smash, blah blah blah. And you can do that by using his knee, his stomp, his low to the ground second hit nair into shield, which is safe against, ASDI down or CC down smash. You want to keep her in the air. You want to keep her above you. You want to oppress her with up air. You want to, get some grabs at mid percents and do some damage. That's kind of Falcon's goal. And the way that Samus is going to try and stop you is she's going to do a lot of preemptive stuff. Like that wave dash down tilt was preemptive. That up tilt she did earlier was preemptive because Samus lacks options to react to you doing anything. So she will be preemptively trying to stuff you flying in. So getting an idea of what that timing is and what they like to use to play around that timing is a really big deal. Because once you get a handle on that timing, that's when you're getting in. That's when you can start to win neutral over and over again.
So wait, you've played Mace?
Yep.
How good would you say he is?
He's pretty decent.
He's pretty good?
Yeah.
I mean, we play against like Pleasant
Ooh.
Breeze Frost all the time, so it's like
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said that Samus is really good
pretty good.
at ASDI down and crouch cancel stuff.
We play
She has buttons that are faster than ours up close and higher reward. So you're like jabbing a fuck ton here when she's really close to you. Which is pretty bad in the matchup, in my opinion, just because Samus is option 0. The first thing that Samus is going to do when you're that close is jab a ton, or hold down and start jabbing, F tilting, down smashing, whatever. All of which is higher reward than anything you're going to do or be able to do. So I would suggest not having that be your option 0. I don't know if it is your option 0 yet. We'll see if you keep doing it, but something that might be better is, if you have the stage space rolling away, if she does misspaced F tilts on your shield, then you can jump out and you can jump out to a platform, or you could jump out and counterattack with nair, or instant up air, or even knee, because if she presses a button, then a lot of the times it won't work out unless it's jab, but whatever. The point is that you should try to disengage mostly in those situations as your option 0, I would say. And then, once she starts trying to chase that shit and isn't immediately pressing buttons when, you're close to her, then that's when you can start doing some other stuff.
Doing pretty good right now.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Missed the
Okay, that was missed the
wave dash off.
Yeah.
Stomp knee.
Might take.
Oh.
This is
That's
so
a Danny
whack.
edge guard.
What the hell?
Oh.
What do you mean to back?
Dude, I love Arcadian Melee.
Yeah, it's actually.
Oh, it is an Arcadian.
So this is the ladder for Duelist Kingdom.
Yeah, I'm not sure what point it is in the ladder. I would
Yeah.
assume somewhat later in this ladder if I had to guess. 'Cause yeah, Mace is no slouch.
Oh, you rolled too early.
Alright, see,
Okay, so
right
Oh,
there
you could have
when
stomped
he's
through there through the platform. The reason I say you rolled too early is because when she grapples, there's not really anything she can do to hit you in a way that like matters, especially if you're at a low percent. And if she uses the grapple again, like, pulls herself up and you're occupying the ledge somehow, then she'll pop up like this,
Alright.
which lets you do shit like back air her or whatever.
Alright,
Okay,
see,
so-
right there when he, like, Falcon could definitely react and just, like,
Nice
go
up
down
airs.
there under and just, like, come up with an up air and just, like, smack Samus.
It's
on
pretty
the
obvious
ceiling.
what you're trying to do
think
on
Kian-
edge
Alright,
guards.
see,
Okay, so-
right there when he, like, Falcon
You
could
turn your
definitely
back a lot
react and just, like,
here.
go down there
And what this says to other players is you're going to try and occupy this space with like back airs or whatever. Which is why he chooses to take a risk and jump in
There
here
and
with
just, like, come up with
forward
an
air to punish you for doing stuff like that.
air and just, like,
Um,
smack Samus on the
Okay.
ceiling.
I think
You
Kian
can
maybe
use
can
this
do that too,
against the Samus player
but it's-
later if you make it look like
rough.
Alright, well, brought it
that's
back.
what you want to do by turning your
That's a
back
bit
and
of a
then you
difference.
just
All
fly
it takes
out
is,
and
like,
hit
a
her or
stomp and a
something.
grab.
It would be risky
Falcon
for
can
you, but
potentially get
that would
brains
trick
back.
her. And tricking Samus is a really big deal in edge guarding Samus correctly because Samus is so reactive when she's recovering.
Or gets hit by a super missile. Oh,
Oh,
two?
Oh, you're just getting
Three?
hit by this shit.
Okay.
Yeah, there's more of that stuff that I was talking about earlier with like always trying to fight when you're really close to Samus. The thing is, you don't
Oh,
really
two.
have to do any of this.
Okay.
Samus players are not going to try to grab you. And the reason they're not going to try and grab you is because Samus's grab is really slow. It has a ton of end lag, so it's very committal, and its reward is pretty low, to be completely honest. So you don't really need to worry about people grabbing you, which is what beats shield. And she lacks, the like airtight, super, super oppressive pressure of something like a space animal or something. She's just going to be jabbing until to get your shield. It's not threatening. So you don't really need to press buttons. You can wait to jump out of shield to a platform or wave dash back or something like that. If she, spaces a tilt on your shield, if she misspaces a tilt on your shield, you can jump out and nair her or something. But I think generally trying to reset to a position that might allow you to get a little bit more space is generally better. You get fucking killed because of that.
I think against Samus though, you can definitely like use your speed as a.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
way to
there's
get
more
her
of it.
wrapped up.
That
She
seems to
wanted
be a
fall
really big
off
issue right now.
the platform and catch him with the beam gun.
Yeah,
Charge shot. My
like
bad.
trying to
Oh,
slide
stomp.
off.
I think you need to work on your combo game versus
I was
Samus.
like, I remember when.
Yeah, like that was another up air. You could have comboed the nair into something, and you could have comboed this up air into something. I think you're just not like familiar enough with comboing Samus, or you don't have like any particular things that you might want to use in mind already.
When I first got into this game, Samus's forward air seemed so bad, and then I learned how.
You did say that you don't really like know what to do
good at-
against
yeah.
Samus, so I'm chalking
It's
up a
actually
lot of
such a
this
good
stuff
move
to just like match
for
up on
what it is.
familiarity.
Face up. 3 stocks to 1.
See, like he's playing around
Oh.
that area that I talked about, that like circle, because your back is turned and it's
Oh,
obvious
jumped
like
right
what you're
into
going
it.
to try to do. So you can abuse him for that.
That's very.
Okay.
Oh, I jumped right into it.
You're pretty slow. Something that I would also suggest is just like, the stereotypical eternal melee tip of keep working on tech skill, because you're pretty slow in these situations. And it looks like you're not ready for timings or situations where Samus might try to tilt or might try to do something.
Oh, I jumped right into it.
Which is why you do a lot of that like random hopping stuff. Instead of doing an option that like might work out a little better for you, or is based around something that your opponent would do. Just because like this doesn't do anything. This tomahawk isn't baiting anything out. You don't really need to be observing anymore, I don't think, because you've seen the player's tendencies by now. So I think that these I think that these hops are just indicative of like some matchup inexperience, not really knowing like what you need to look for, which is the timings of their tilts and stuff like that. A lot of the options you choose after you do this hop are fine for the situation if you didn't hop, if that makes sense.
That's pretty good if you're Mace too. Like, I feel like some Samuses that hold on to the charge shot for too long.
You should use Nair more in those
Against Falcon,
situations.
That's pretty good if you're
Like Samus is stuck in front of you.
Mace too. Like, I feel like some Samus
If you Naired again, you would go straight through that missile and then hit Samus.
Samuses that hold on to the charge shot for too long. Against Falcon, you get hit by a knee or something and you're gone. So it's good you got some.
See, like if you were familiar in this matchup, that Nair was a knee. That was a stock. But you're not familiar, so you're having a lot of trouble converting, which is a big deal. You have to convert. In this shield situation is kind of interesting. It's like this is something that's you're going to find yourself pressuring Samus and shield near the ledge so much. And the reason I want to talk about this is because it's one of the reasons why Nair is so good in the matchup. Yeah, that's a kill. She's going to have to shield here. And Samus's options out of shield are very poor. She has something like Nair out of shield. A higher level Samus would probably just wave dash to the ledge here. She could wave dash forward too. That's a pretty good option. But, you know, she doesn't have anything like Space Animals, like a huge button out of shield that's really fast or something like that. So you could Nair and then Nair again to stuff her for trying to jump. You could Nair and then fade back knee to punish something like a wave dash forward out of shield. You could Nair, and if you have conditioned her to be super scared and stay in shield forever, just grab her immediately afterwards. But the point is that you need to be ready to keep her in the same spot. And you fade this Nair way too far in, and then you jab. And jab doesn't really like. If she wave dash forward and she gets hit by jab, it's whatever. Who cares? If she jumps and she gets hit by jab, it's like, nah, what, you know, eh. If she wave dashes back to the ledge, you know, the jab probably like hits her, I guess, but then you're right in front of Samus, jabbing her, and her ASDI down and CC stuff will still work at this percent against jabs. So ideally, when you put her in shield in front of you, and especially if she's cornered, you can just Nair again. You could space Nair on her shield again. You could cover a wave dash forward if that's what they like to do with fade back knee. It's very safe, very strong option. There's lots of shit that you can do, but you can't let her get away so easily.
Dude. Okay, up air from ledge. Let's see. Nothing?
Yeah, it's not really getting you anything, just running around there threatening that same space. And then he's jumping over that space and all that other stuff. So you need to start threatening him for doing that stuff.
Dude, I tried playing Samus.
Full hop up air is good for it.
The most whack.
Just jumping at him to make him be scared is good too. This is an example of like a bare bones Falcon Samus neutral situation. She thinks that you will run at her right now. So she preemptively forward tilts. This is the timing that you need to get really good at spotting and then playing around. All you have to do here, if you knew she was going to do this, all you have to do is don't bother with shield here. All you had to do is dash forward, dash back for just a beat, and then fly in with something. The forward tilt whiffs, you hit her with knee, and you get that stock. It's vital in this matchup that you understand how to find this timing. Because this is going to happen a lot. This exact situation is going to happen over and over and over and over again.
Movement is cool. I respect her as a character. It's just like I said, I don't have.
And whether or not you win neutral against Samus a lot is completely dependent on how well you
Oh,
catch on to that and how well
movement
your
is
opponent
cool.
mixes
I
that timing
respect
up.
her as a character. It's just like
It's
I
that
don't have the
important.
time. Like
I beat
Oh,
Iwater's
you're just
Fox
jabbing
with my
again.
Samus.
They're not even close to you. That's definitely a bad habit. You
oh,
should work on that.
Sick
no
down air.
meteor cancel or anything.
Yeah,
Yep.
no, I said,
Smack the,
nah, I'm done.
the poop out of him. Yeah, so that
Oh,
was a, what, a
Dreamland.
3 stock?
I don't know what he banned.
And now we're going to
Maybe you
Dreamland.
can let me know after you watch this video, but
Alright, so Stump's gonna give
I
himself
personally wouldn't bring
some
Samus
space
here.
to think about.
Mostly just because people pick Dreamland based on how early they can kill somebody versus how early they can be killed. For the most part, also for the space, which is great for you, don't get me wrong. This isn't a bad stage. It's just not one I would pick. For this reason, you are going to have a hard time outright killing Samus with combo enders like knee here, or even just like random knees, stray knees, are going to have a hard time killing her here. But she is not going to have a hard time killing you here. She will edgeguard you here just like everywhere else. Very well, and you'll probably die every time. Unless you can get really high up or something. So this picking this stage kind of just makes it harder for you to kill her and not necessarily the other way around. It would make winning neutral harder for Samus, it being a big stage, but you don't currently have the like game plan or matchup understanding to play that way, to play to that game plan. So I wouldn't have picked Dreamland here.
He's playing a pretty sick neutral, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's dashing around him. He's probably just gotta like realize the points
Ooh.
where Mace is like throwing out these tilts and whatnot.
Yeah.
This is kind of a minor critique.
He's probably just gotta like realize
It's not like this is the reason you're losing or anything, so don't take it this way. But I think you make your movement a lot harder than it needs to be. Like you're wave dashing all the time and doing all this like weird stuff. You could just be pressing back and forth on the analog stick and accomplishing the same thing. Again, that's just my opinion. You know, it's not like it's hurting you or anything, but
I feel like it's kind of a similar thing with Sheik.
yeah.
See, like, right
See, that was
there,
good. That was a good time.
where Mace is
Pretty sick
right there.
neutral, to be honest.
Fuck,
Yeah.
I went back too far.
Yeah, so he's dashing around him. He's probably just gotta like realize the points where
Should up air
Mace
there.
is like throwing out these.
You might have tried to.
Yeah.
You don't need to respect those missiles. Again,
like it's kinda-
you can just nair through that shit.
Gotta, like, realize the
And
points where
once you
Mace
get
is,
more
like,
familiar in the
throwing out
matchup,
these
it'll be very obvious when Samus players try to do this. If you're like far enough away so that an immediate up air won't hit her, and she's on a platform, she will drop down with a missile. Because she does not want to be on these side platforms against Captain Falcon. No floaty ever wants to be above Captain Falcon. So you can reasonably predict this every single time. And you can prepare an air. Instead of shielding, even if you're so far away that you couldn't possibly hit her with a nair and destroy the missile, I would still nair to destroy the missile. Just keeps you moving.
and whatnot.
Yeah.
And you just chose a bad time
I
to
feel
go
like
in
it's
there.
kind of
But this was a good time to go in. Again, preemptive stuff. This guy's just he's making a read every time. Samus has to make reads in
Similar
neutral
thing with
to beat
Sheik,
Falcon.
See, like right there, like caught him in the up tilt lag.
So you have to play around it. Yeah,
Like,
see
Sheik just
it.
has a bunch of fast
You
tilts that
you
are,
could
like,
just
really
nair
good,
through
so
those missiles
it's
very
harder
easily.
in like practice.
Oh, you
But
could have
I
grabbed
feel like
there
it's the same like concept
instead of
versus
jab.
Samus. Like you're just trying to bait her in to do like her committal that are like really good.
Understanding
So
what your
it's
opponent is
harder.
trying to do in these situations is actually a pretty big deal. Because what Samus is likely doing here is spamming double jump. Specifically, so if you're a little slow on something, she
Like
escapes,
practice.
or if you do something like jab, she can just immediately get out. You could do something like jab grab or like up air grab there. You could do something like up air nair there. I prefer up air nair; it's easier, and it leads into more combo if they aren't ready to SDI it. But you could be getting more off of these grabs. Something that's really hurting you in this set so far is that your punish game is not good against Samus, and it needs to be.
Almost.
And it's not that hard either. You just have to know how to do
it.
it. Oh, you got red.
That was a good edge guard.
You can watch Wizrobe for that. Wizrobe is the best Falcon in the world at killing Samus. And S2J is probably the the best Falcon in neutral against Samus. He's so good against Samus in neutral.
Man, he keeps getting hit by them charge shots. Man, that's a 25%.
They're both really good at the matchup, honestly.
Alright, snug pass him there.
Dude, Samus down smash is actually, like, I think the most, like...
You're getting punished a
if I
lot
get
this
hit by
set
it, I'm
for
like,
just
dude,
being
this
really
sucks.
antsy out of shield.
Like, I hate my life.
Like when somebody's close to you and you hold up your shield, you only hold it long enough for if they pressed a button immediately, like you would jump out immediately, you know?
It's pretty
If
much
that
like
makes any
getting hit
sense.
by like a peach down smash or something. Or like one that you try to CC and you just eat a ton of damage, except
Oh, this is good.
all it does is just
What you're
send
doing
you
here.
to a really bad play.
Samus's ledge options are actually pretty bad. She has stuff like AI F tilt and stuff like that, but it only covers. I mean, it's like she just gets up and F tilts. You can cover this space here. Let's see if I can
Usually
get
don't take
a better.
too much damage.
Yeah, you can cover this space right here just about with stuff like mixing up the timings on bears and knees and stuff like that. There's really not that much that Samus can do other than try to pick a time where you aren't putting out a hitbox to try and get up there. At the very least, at the very most, she either hits you with an AI like fully invincible F tilt, which is pretty, difficult, or she earns like this teeny little bit of space right here, which you can then continue to oppress her in with stuff like Nair Nair or all that other shit I talked about earlier. So that's good. You should do that more.
But it always puts you in the worst spot.
Yeah. And if you get hit by both hits, it's like, damn.
Yeah.
You fade into knee here probably.
Yeah, that's the one thing too. It's like regardless, like with most moves, if they're
So
aiming
that's
for
when a
a
lot of
forward
Falcons fade
standing
into knee.
hitbox and they hit you with the reverse one, it's like, all right, that's it.
Which,
Like,
in my
Samus
opinion,
hits
you
with
shouldn't
the
do.
reverse
But
down smash, it still doesn't really matter. Like you're still in a bad spot.
tech? Oh,
I feel like
don't
that's
need
why
to.
that move feels so terrible to get hit by too.
You don't always have to go for the
It's
ledge.
never good.
Notice you
Still
always
doesn't
try to
really
get to the
matter. Like you're
ledge.
still in a bad spot.
Falcon's
Like,
recovery
that's why that move
is worse and worse the lower and lower it is. So when you're way up here, you could just
feels so terrible.
up B immediately. Like right now, you could up B and trick Samus into trying to cover this platform or trying to cover the ledge. And Samus has to commit. She can't cover both. So you should at least introduce that mix-up because he just reacted and hit you because you dipped too low.
Yeah, Mason's running away with this one.
Yeah. You would have, well, it's best of 3, right? So Mace
Yeah.
Oh
probably
yeah,
banned
see
FD.
there was the fade in I was talking about. That can work sometimes. I think you should just always space it, but that's just me. I've noticed you miss the fast fall in these nairs a lot.
You would have, well,
You gotta work
it's
on your
best of
tech
3,
skill.
right? So Mace
Yeah.
probably banned FD.
Yeah. FD or Pokemon.
Yeah.
See me.
But you would think Stump would go to the other one.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there's those
Yeah.
jabs getting you hit again.
If he wanted the space, like
I think at this
Mace
point
would
it's
have to
just
do
a
the
lot
Pokemon
more
thing where
the
he
same.
knows,
yeah.
Yeah, where you can shoot the missiles. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
platform
it's
cancel.
just unfamiliarity with
Me
what you can
personally,
punish with.
I probably would have went to like Yoshi's.
Unfamiliarity with like
You
when
kill it pretty
Samus might try to
quickly.
do stuff.
Like I was saying,
You're
I don't have
definitely trying to bait
patience,
stuff
so
out there, which was good. This
platform
was
cancel.
this was pretty decent.
Me personally,
Um,
I probably would have went to like Yoshi's just because you kill
maybe you're a little
But
scared
pretty
because you're behind too.
quickly.
But she wave dashes back there. That's a moment where you can go into. There's lots of moments where you can just choose to fucking fly in there. But
Like
this is good data you gathered.
Say I don't have the patience, so I would prefer to, kill Samus earlier than later.
Could have grabbed there.
And then like
Oh, you
you
should
can,
be
like,
up airing
run
and pressing
around and
buttons.
do,
You're like
crazy
it's
kill
more
Samus
that
earlier
unfamiliarity
than
having
later.
you not press buttons. You should press buttons here.
And then
Up
like
air, nair, anything.
you can like run around and do like crazy tricky stuff on Yoshi's that
Nice
Samus
nair.
can't really keep up with.
If you, again, if you were more familiar with the matchup, I'm just gonna point stuff out.
And then like you can like run around and do like crazy tricky stuff
Up air to knee here.
on Yoshi's that Samus can't really keep up with. Like here she can always cover you with missiles.
Nice wave dash away. That's so good. You should do that a lot more.
And
Yeah.
Stop trying to fight out of shield so much. That wave dash out of shield was really good.
do other shit.
Oh, that was super unlucky.
The hit that goes the other way.
Yeah.
You didn't have to be scared of him there, like when he dashed back a bunch.
Have space to charge shot and do other shit.
Oh, he wanted the back hit. Or
He's afraid you're gonna hit him. You know, you could run in. You could use this as a timing mix-up just to like make it a little later and then run in and then nair or something like that. Just space
You
it
know,
on her
the
shield.
hit.
Keep her from jumping like this.
There goes the other one.
This need was never gonna hit anything in a million years. Um, so you just need to be more like cognizant of what your opponent can
Right.
do,
Yeah.
like what options they are likely to choose in those
Oh.
situations.
That was a well-spaced back air.
You could back air there, and you should up B
Ooh, side
like
B.
way earlier.
Spaced
When
back
you're
air.
way high up like this, up B is actually really strong. As you double jump like that, and from here you could threaten landing here. You could land here. You could land there. You can make it look like you're gonna land here and go there. You can make it look like you're gonna land up here and go there. You know, lots of options for you, as opposed to like, you know, you cut off a lot of your options here and put yourself in a situation where he could have just killed you. I think he accidentally down aired.
Ooh, side B. It's a shield poke.
Nice
It's
up
another
airs.
up air.
Oh, rip.
Oh, he went deep.
That was
I
good. You
respect
just
it.
didn't fade in hard
Gotta
enough
make
for
something
that.
happen.
It was really risky.
Oh no.
Wow.
That's unfortunate. Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh.
So instead of
make something
jabbing
happen.
there,
Oh no.
instead of
that's
jabbing there,
unfortunate.
just do something like short hop up air, short hop nair, something. Or at the very least, finish a gentleman. You know, he's at 115 now. A gentleman can do something.
Oh man.
Oh, good up attack.
I'm pretty sure Falcon can like jab charge shot
Oh, he tried
and
to up
like
air.
flank with it. I want to say that's legit, or he can nair it or something. All right. Well, it's still possible Stump could bring this back.
Oh, that was
See, he's
unlucky.
like mistiming, because like that nair through the missile isn't even a bad
Sometimes,
idea.
sometimes you
Actually,
like,
at zero. Well, it's still possible
sometimes
Stump
the
could bring this
missile will
back.
come in between the nair hits if you time the nair
See, he's
poorly.
like mistiming.
Like you timed this nair,
All right.
you short hopped and pressed the A
Well, it's
button
still possible
like
Stump could bring this back.
instantly, so the nair was coming out here instead of pressing it a little later where it would come out here.
See, he's like
It's like one of those really, really
like,
little
that
things.
nair through the missile isn't even a bad idea. Actually, at zero, it probably got crouch canceled, but
Ooh.
I see
Yeah,
what he's
that's
going
why I
for.
don't
He's
like
got,
fading in there, so you can get caught by
execute
shit
it.
like that.
Oh, I respect
Oh, that was weird.
Falcon kick too.
Tech? Yeah.
Sick tech.
Yeah.
But always got hit by the back air. It's looking like this might be a little bit over. Oh wait.
Oh.
Nice.
Sick tech.
Yeah.
But always got hit by the back air. It's looking like
I
this
try
might
to
be
get
a
more
little bit
nairs like
over.
those, for sure.
Oh wait.
This is not. This is good.
Yeah. Could have really convert out
he
the.
charged out smash.
Got caught in it.
That sucks. You tried to short hop me.
Yeah.
That's
That
probably
works
gonna be
too.
it.
All right.
Cool.
Yeah, I think you just. Honestly, I think that if you just lab out some. If you just like lab out a bunch of ways to chain aerials against Samus at various percents. Get some B&Bs. Be a little more ready and like I guess confident, but I think it was a readiness thing. Be more ready for your stuff to work. Like be more ready for your up air on platforms to hit, so that you can chain it into another one or chain it into a knee. Be more ready for your nair to work, so that you can do something like dash up air to keep it going, or even grab, but dash up air tends to, you know, most of the time be what you end up getting. Stop pressing buttons all the time like jabs and shit once Samus is on top of you, because it's just not going to work out for you. The risk reward's not in your favor. The risk reward's double not in your favor, because pressing buttons there and keeping you from doing that is going to be the option zero of every Samus player ever. So try escaping. Do stuff like wave dashes out of shield against or after tilts. Full hopping out of shield after tilts. If they're not spaced, you can nair them too. Wave dashing to the ledge, whatever. And I think maybe most importantly, you need to focus on observing when your opponent thinks that you're going to come in. Because every single time that Samus F tilts half a screen away from you, she's making a read on you. And that means that she thinks that you're coming in. So you need to recognize that and say, okay, this is kind of her beat. This is her timing. Let me fuck that up a little bit. And then you can add in, like, instead of dash jump, you can do dash, tiny dash back, dash in jump. And you'll fly in right after the F tilt and hit her. And then you can keep the pressure on her, keep her in place, space nairs on her shield, cover wave dashes out of shield toward you with fadeaway knees, read wave dashes back out of shield with overshoot stomps or knees, stuff like that. That's when you can really open up the matchup. But right now, your punishes aren't. You don't really have a punish game against Samus. You're not really ready to think about working around your opponent's tilts. And as a result, you're just not getting enough opportunities to put on the pressure. You're not getting enough opportunities to make this Samus player be afraid of you and enable you to do the things that you need to do to win.